My pay lets me get up to $500 of my pay when I need. Join me at Chime.com.
But throughout his campaign, President-elect Trump promised mass deportations. And now that he's won, there are a lot of questions about what that looks like. Chris Sadeghi has more on that, and we're still waiting to see exactly how it will work.
In both 2016 and 2024, President-elect Donald Trump's vow to crack down on immigration resonated with voters and helped send him to victory. Now that he is returning to the White House, some wonder what that crackdown might look like this time around. 8 years ago, it was a promise to build a border wall. During his campaign this time, he kept using the term mass deportation. We've not heard any details or logistics of those mass deportation plans yet. There are a lot of details that would have to be considered. There's an estimated 11 million people in the country illegally, so how to identify them, detain them, and how to pay for it all, still questions that remain. But for DACA recipients and millions of families, it's enough to have them worried. We spoke to a 29-year-old woman in the DACA program who was brought to the U.S. from Mexico by her parents when she was a 7-month-old baby. She's a legal secretary married to an American citizen and has 2 children. She hopes any deportation plan takes into account certain factors.
I just wish that he would take into consideration not just dreamers like myself, but the parents of dreamers who have followed the rules as much as they can. Yes, they came here illegally, but they came here just like any other person, any other foreign person who has came here in search of a better life.
And any deportation plan will likely face legal challenges. We talked to an immigration attorney who said those who fear they are at risk should seek legal representation. I'm Chris Sadeghi. Now back to you.
Donald Trump has vowed to completely upend the immigration system in this country. His plans would include conducting the largest deportation operation in U.S. history through the use of mass raids, as well as detention camps for undocumented migrants. We could see a return to the inhumane child separation policies from his first administration, which President Biden is still trying to clean up and reunite those families. Trump has also announced that he will not only re-implement his travel ban that focused on Muslim-majority countries, but expand the number of countries that it would cover. Groups like the American Civil Liberties Union, which filed more than 400 legal challenges against Trump's first administration, have been busy this year preparing plans to respond in case Trump was successful in his presidential bid. And I'm joined now by Lee Gelernt, Deputy Director of the ACLU Immigrants' Rights Project. Lee, thank you so much for being here. So let's start with mass deportation. Donald Trump has vowed to use an 18th century law that is on the books still, that would allow him to do it. I think it's the Alien Enemies Act. So that's on the books. Right. How would you stop him?
So we think it would be illegal to use it for immigration. The law is very clear that it has to be a foreign government doing an invasion. That's not what's involved in immigration. So we have been preparing since the winter time for this challenge if he actually does go ahead and use it. And so we will say that there's no foreign government attacking us. There's no invasion. These are immigrants looking for safety, looking for a better life. This is not what it was intended to do. This is a law that was used during Japanese internment and only declared wars. It's really unthinkable to try and use it for immigration. Will the courts uphold it?
That's the question.
Exactly. But we will be challenging it.
The way that Donald Trump has characterized the immigration system in the country is an invasion. He's been using that term probably pretty deliberately. He's not some genius. I'm sure that Stephen Miller and other people who are interested in making sure they can do mass deportation have been telling him that's the way to characterize it. They're saying it is an invasion. What makes you think that John Roberts and Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas wouldn't simply reinterpret the law to say that it means exactly whatever Trump says it means?
Right. So I don't want to predict where the court will go. I mean, I think we all have to be clear-eyed that all these legal battles are going to be tricky. But I think there's a difference, and I think the courts will recognize a difference between his rhetoric on the campaign trail and what the law actually means. And I think the court is sensitive to how a law has been interpreted over time, and it was used in 1812 in the 2 world wars. Those were declared wars. So I think this is very different. We're going to just remain hopeful that the courts put their foot down on this.
One of the other things that Donald Trump, theoretically could do would be to prosecute people who he feels speak against him in the government, whistleblowers, things like that. It doesn't feel like there'd be a ton of protection there because they're trying to get rid of the civil service protections that currently protect those who